Previously on Foursquare Sports, most of us said that the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles would beat the San Francisco 49ers, except for one person.
And now Niners against the Eagles. I'm going Niners here. I think Niners win by 14 points. Keep in mind, the Niners, nobody had them on their radar. I think I was one of the few that actually had the Niners as like a dark horse pick because like they're actually healthy this year. And CMC, Christian McCaffrey is a full season healthy, despite the fact that the Niners have had their fair share of injuries. Kyle Shanahan has coached this team as well as he could have had. And he's had Brock Purdy get hurt and Mac Jones being good in Brock Purdy's place. So, and with this Philadelphia Eagles team, not as good as they were last year. They have a lot of flaws, especially offensively. Saquon is not the same as he was, especially from last year. A.J. Brown did better towards the latter half of the season. But Jalen Hurts, he could throw for less than 100 yards and his team can still find a way to win simply because of the fact that he can run the ball and the Philadelphia Eagles defense is really good. Same with the Niners defense though, but I think the Niners, they have the more playoff experience. So I'm going to say Niners win that game by 14.
Kevin Zoskovics is flexing his muscles right now in that Cam Scatterwood jersey. He's been a frequent stay on the previously parts of the show. But anyway, we got a lot to get into. We're both mad, we're both happy, and we have a lot to get into. So let's start the intro. Let's do it.
I'm in control of you.
I don't care.
Thank you.
This product can kill you.
Am I missing something here? Oh, wait, there it is. Guarantee!
Start spreading the news. I'm happy today. No, just kidding. Anyway, welcome to Foursquare Sports episode number 30. This is called Raise Your Game. We got John Harbaugh in MetLife Stadium, but we also have some Major League Baseball drama that we have to get into. Anyway, Kevin Zelskovic is all in blue, Alec Nava, and John Walsh. Gentlemen, how are you?
Mix of emotions over the sports world. Ups and downs we go. I mean, many of us are upset. Many of us are also happy too, just to say the least.
Well, I want to give a couple of shouts before we actually begin this episode. First off, congratulations to our fantasy champion, John Welch, who got the trophy earlier today. And we have the runner-up, Sammy Myers, who's watching on and basically just giving John the deuces for winning the championship. So, John, congratulations. The trophy came in. And how do you like it?
The trophy is awesome. It was bigger than I thought it was going to be. And it has the names of the top 4 teams of our first fantasy this year. And it's one of a kind. So it was really, really cool. It actually was opened by somebody else, and the person that opened it is a big fantasy person. And they're like, "What's this?" And they got super jealous. So it was actually even better than it could have been if I had opened it by myself in my room.
Oh, okay. Well, at least you got your hands on it, and at least it's in your possession. So that's good.
It's awesome.
Also, a second shout out. I want to give a shout out to Great North Sports and David Smith and his crew for hitting 2,000 subscribers on their YouTube channel. An amazing milestone for an amazing person, an amazing creator that we all look up to and for advice and everything like that. So, David and the gang, congratulations. You earned it. And now, And also subscribe to our YouTube channel whenever you can. Maybe Dave will vouch for us, which would be great. But anyway, we have a lot to get into. We're gonna start with Major League Baseball. As much as I'm happy right now, I'm also very pissed off. I've gotten into an argument with like maybe 2 or 3 Dodger fans today over this nonsense that is the Major League Baseball financial aspect, and that would be the deferred payments of the Dodgers. Anyway, to put this all bow on it, Kyle Tucker has signed a deal with the Los Angeles Dodgers. It's a 4-year, $240 million contract, $30 million in deferred payments. Where have I heard that before? And it's just unbelievable. And then Bo Bichette also signed a contract with the New York Mets today. It was a 4-year, 120 or 126, 3-year, 126. I don't know the exact other details about it, but I know that the Blue Jays were offering or the Phillies were offering like a double opt out, and that was the first time I've ever heard of a double opt out in my life. I'm, what's a double opt out? And Kevin told me what it was. It's basically like you can opt out after 1 year or like after the second year. I don't know what it is anymore. Like Major League Baseball is in a very dire state, but it all starts with one culprit, the Los Angeles Dodgers. First off, the deferred payments thing has to stop. The lack of guarantee money of $2.111 billion on the roster. God damn it. What are we doing? And the first thing I want to say is like for Dodger fans out there who are basically saying, did he feed the dog? As I fed the dog. I fed the dog. We're good. Okay. Anyway, the dog was fed. Anyway, to get back on track here. Deferred payments must go. Luxury tax must go. And for Dodger fans out there who are saying, oh, there's not going to be a lockout in 2027. We're going to get baseball in 2027. First off, Dodger fans, you don't know what's going on because you got your head so far up your butt, you don't know what's going on. You're living in a reality. You're living on cloud 9 or cloud 69, depending on how you look at it. It's just a big, big joke. The fact that we as baseball fans have to endure this, the fact that a team's going to win the World Series for the 3rd consecutive year because of deferred payments. The Yankees in the 90s weren't doing this. Like, what's the point? Financially, Major League Baseball is in a big, big situation, and Ron Manfred's a part of this. But Andrew Friedman started this with the Ohtani contract. You want to know why? Because Ohtani is basically got a contract that had never been signed before, $700 million. But guess what? $680 million of that is deferred. Money that he's getting $20 million to play for 10 years. How fair is that for a guy who plays 2 ways? And Andrew Friedman came up with this ridiculous contract because it's like, oh, we have a guy who's a great pitcher and a great batter. Okay, let's give him something that we've never seen before. And all you did was you started a financial disaster in Major League Baseball because now all these top players like Juan Soto, for instance, want a top dollar contract like that that's giving you like over $800 million. We need a salary cap so stuff like this doesn't happen. We need a salary floor because teams that don't spend, like the Brewers or the Pirates or the Rockies or the Marlins, are not encouraged to spend, even though they got all this money. But we need to spend. They need to spend. They need to compete. They need to be financially in it to win it. And right now they're not. The imbalance is absolutely insane because right now the Dodgers think that they can spend every penny they want and even what they can't afford. The Dodgers are literally spending money they do not have. It's like the Full House episode where it's like, oh, if I buy now, I can pay for it later. Meanwhile, Stephanie steals the sweater. That's what the Dodgers are doing. They're stealing players that they can't afford. It's not right at all. This is something that you've never seen in Major League Baseball and in any other major sport. And I'm pissed off that Dodger fans are telling me, oh, this is not a problem at all. It's a huge problem. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, I'm sitting here trying to be as appropriate as I can because we're part of KIXP, and I don't want to try and curse. I can only imagine what Kevin has on his mind right now. But the fact that Dodger fans look me dead in the eye right now and say, okay, what's the benefits of all this? You can because you're lying. You're trying to live in your own fantasy world because you're happy that your team is doing well. But look at the other 29 teams that don't even have a chance to win. The Blue Jays losing the World Series was the worst thing that could have happened in Major League Baseball because now the Dodgers are basically saying, oh, we can do whatever we want now. We got away with it 2 years. Now we can do it again. Just absurd.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. I mean, like, it's just ridiculous. I mean, like, if the Dodgers winning back-to-back World Series didn't solidify the need for a salary cap, this Tucker signing buried all their arguments, in my opinion, because it seems like the Dodgers just print infinite money. And to give you an idea, like you mentioned, the two, including the deferred contracts, it's $2.2 billion worth in contracts for the last 3 off seasons. And that value alone is more than the total value of half of the MLB franchises, including the Blue Jays. That's insane. The luxury tax bill they have to pay this coming year is $165 million, not payroll, the luxury tax. That's insane. Can you imagine like paying that much and like not be able to pay for it? And then you look at all of the circumstances, and you see this Dodgers team, and like it goes more to it than that, than just the Ohtani contract. I feel like that was just one piece of the puzzle. The other piece of the puzzle of like, I'm like, why? How are they getting all this much money? It's their TV deal that they signed in 2013 for Spectrum LA. So in that deal, the way that it works is there was a bankruptcy settlement called the McCourty settlement, I believe it was, and the Dodgers and Spectrum LA, they signed a contract, and in that contract, they have a certain exemption just for them on revenue sharing. So typically, like when a team signs with a TV network, they have a revenue sharing. So
Yes.
typically the team, what's it called? The money goes into a pool and then it gets redistributed. Typically 40% of the revenue goes to the team and 52% goes to the network that they're working with. With the Dodgers, they have an exemption in that contract or that deal that makes it to where they get more money coming in than the network does. That's insane. That's the only team that has that kind of exemption. Why is that even a thing? And I'm like, this explains why they're getting a lot of money. And not just because of that, it's also because that if you take a look at the Guggenheim asset management that is part of the investment group that pays for all the Dodgers stuff, they're billionaires. They're worth like that whole investment group is like worth $5 billion. The TV deal is worth $8.26 billion. To give you a frame of reference, the Yankees TV network or the S network, that's worth around $2.47 billion last time I checked. So the Dodgers is worth almost triple that. So they have a ton of money coming in from just the TV deal alone. And with the deferred payments, they can set aside a ton of money because they literally print money with all the billions and billions of dollars from their investment group and from the TV, and they only have to pay the TV rights, but they get majority of that revenue, not the TV network, because of that exemption. I don't know why or how that came into fruition, but that's just what I read. But I think it's absolutely ridiculous. And like you said, to the people saying that like, oh, this is rich coming from a couple of Yankees fans. The Yankees used to do this all the time. Listen, back then it was a different time. The Yankees didn't not have this deferred nonsense. And those teams, majority of those players were either homegrown talent or it was off of trades. The entirety of those teams were not spent off of free agents or superstars from other teams. That's what the Dodgers are doing right now on their roster. I can name probably maybe 2 guys that are homegrown, like on that team. The rest of the guys are free agents. Ohtani, free agent. Yamamoto, free agent. Mookie Betts, free agent. Freeman, free agent.
Yeah.
Who else? Tucker, free agent. I can go on and on. Glasnow, Snell. I can go on and on. The Yankees teams back then did not build through free agency. They built through homegrown talent and trades, which is how exactly, which is realistically how it should be. But with the Dodgers case and all the money that they print out with their TV deal, that is the big crux of the problem here. Because without that exemption, the Dodgers would be like every other just big market team. But with that TV deal, that sets them apart and sets them up from the rest of the teams, including other big market teams like the Yankees, like the Mets, like the Blue Jays, and even the Red Sox. Look at the deals that Bo Bichette just signed. He was supposed to get a 7-year, $200 million deal with the Phillies. Guess what? He turned that offer down and went with a shorter offer, 3 years, 126, whatever the number was, with 2 opt-outs. So he can literally opt out after the first year with the Mets. And Tucker, he was expected to get like $400 million or something. That didn't happen. He went with short term too, and there's an opt out in there after like the third year or something like that. So all these big market teams, and with these deferred payments, especially with the Dodgers, they can get away with that because of the TV deal that they exclusively have. Not every team can operate and spend like the Dodgers. And yes, I agree, salary cap is needed and a salary floor is needed to go along with it. Because yes, you can make the argument that don't blame the Dodgers, blame the cheap owners. Both things can be true. Yes, owners need to spend a certain amount of money in order to be competitive. But you can also say that the Dodgers are set apart from the rest and nobody can spend like them, not even the higher echelon teams, because of rights and deals and money like that's pouring in off of their revenue stream and the luxury tax. So yes, I agree. Like this is only going to get worse from here, because just imagine, like, they don't even have to spend money on this. They can imagine they go out and get Tariq Skubal and then use the #1 farm system that they have, that the MLB pipeline says that they have, trade for Tariq Skubal. It's going to be even worse. So yeah, baseball is going to be locked out. I don't know what Dodgers fans are thinking. I get that it's that they're happy for their team, but guess what? I hope you're proud of yourselves, because you might not even see baseball next year because of this nonsense. What needs to happen is the collective bargaining agreement ends on December 26th of this year. Yes. So we have a whole year for that collective bargaining group or whoever decides it to decide on a structure, a financially sound structure that includes a cap and a floor and a way to where teams like the Dodgers aren't just up and away the best team, and like other teams that feel like they have no chance. So 29 other MLB teams have to stand up, and they have to make sure that this sport is not canceled, and so to speak, next year, and that the future of baseball is actually brighter moving forward. Because right now, we're going through the dark ages right now.
And the one thing I will say is the people who are trying to justify on social media, teams that don't spend like the Dodgers do are not trying to win like the Dodgers do. First off, it's a very asinine and ignorant statement to say that. Because I saw on Twitter earlier today, I had to put that statement out there. And I think that people are just like ignorant, like thinking, the Dodgers, look at them, California law. Like, it's just mean. It's hurtful. It's disrespectful to the other 29 organizations. And to teams like Pittsburgh and Colorado and Miami, who I mentioned before, like, yeah, they're not spending, but it's also just mean to put them in that category of not wanting to win or not having the urgency to win. Like, it's just mean. It's disrespectful. And honest to God, I think that if Tariq Skubal, let's just say, does go to the Dodgers via trade deadline or things of that nature, then Major League Baseball should just pull the plug on the season right there. Because at that point, there's no point in playing another 70-something games. Because you at that point have the best pitcher in the entire planet, along with Glasnow, along with Snell, along with Yamamoto. Like, what is this? It's like,
when's enough?
Like, when's enough? Like, there needs to be balance is a big thing. And I think Rob Manfred, that's the worst part of it all. Rob Manfred is just letting this all happen. He's not doing a damn thing about it. He's not putting his foot down. And the players union are going to say, we don't want a salary cap. Well, guess what? You're going to have to wake up and smell the coffee, because at this point, a salary cap needs to happen. Because there needs to be balance. Remember when LeBron James in the Miami, he had that super team back in the early 2010s, and that eventually was put to an end? Because look at the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're winning because they're of homegrown talent. That's what sports are about. Homegrown talent and with a little bit of acquisitions here and there. The Dodgers are not doing that. It's not authentic. It doesn't feel like they're actually doing the right thing. Like, they feel like they're just paying to win. That's the key word, pay to win. You know how in mobile games they'll say, those who pay to win are going to rise to the top quicker than expected. That's what the Dodgers are doing. Like, there needs to be a healthy balance, and the Dodgers don't even know. Like, they're abusing the deferred payment system. They're abusing it. They're not doing it here and there, sprinkle around. They're abusing it. And teams are just sick of it, watching this all go down. And it needs to stop. And Rob Manfred, in that CBA agreement, needs to put his foot down and says, okay, our sport is all over the place. Our ratings are going up, but we need to fix the structure of the league. Because right now you got double opt-outs, deferred payments, inconsistent contracts, teams are spending and teams are not spending, inconsistency across the financial aspect of it. And Major League Baseball needs to step up and change.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to let Alec or John get their thoughts in there, because I feel like me and you have kind of gone back.
Yeah, I feel bad.
You know, if you watch the Dodgers last regular season, when people were overreacting to saying cancel the season, the Dodgers are going to be champions again. Well, to be fair, they were champions again, but last season showed this is why you play the games. If you watch the Dodgers outfield, that was a clear weakness, and it was an obvious position of need. Kyle Tucker isn't just added goods. And honestly, all the talks about this is going to be bolster the need for salary cap and floor arguments, that's valid. I get that. Tucker is an absolute need for the Dodgers because the outfield was atrocious. They had some excellent outfield prospects and have the top-ranked prospect pool in the entire MLB with Jose De Paula, Zaire Hope, Eduardo Quintero, Ryan Ward. They're a few years away. But it took a generational pitching performance of Yoshinobu Yamamoto for the Dodgers to beat the Blue Jays, by the way. Toronto was a swing away from winning. At this time frame when this rant was going on, I was enjoyed myself listening to all the arguments. It's not popcorn, as they said, but rather chicharron. But it's good for entertainment listening to his arguments. But for Kyle Tucker, he's obviously the top free agent in his class, but it's a step below the likes of Judge, Ohtani, and Soto in the previous 3 winters. His defense isn't the same as it was, but it's serviceable enough to use. But then again, we're going back to this, and with the Bichette argument, or contract, that the argument for a salary cap and floor is going to be necessitated because players are going to be steadfast about it. But small market owners feel screwed out of it entirely because they're not getting their fair share of worth. If they don't have a floor to keep up with the big boys, there's no competition. And I don't like how baseball is the only 3 of the 4 major North American professional sports in which the small market teams are getting phased out in favor of the large markets.
Yep.
Because you look at the other leagues, small market teams win. Look at the Oklahoma City Thunder, small market team, champions. The Florida Panthers are somewhat of a mid-market team because they're in the Miami area. Back-to-back champions. The Edmonton Oilers, mid-market team, large market by Canadian standards. They made to the finals back-to-back times. You have to go back, if you want to go for an earlier example, the Milwaukee Bucks in 2021. Champions as a small market. The Kansas City Chiefs, small market.
Yes.
3-time Super Bowl champions. So where is the argument for baseball? Oh, there's none because no salary cap or floor. And I know the Players Association is steadfast about their stance against the salary cap and floor, but with the small market owners not in a position to compete because as the big free agents are going to go for the deals in which they like the most of the big markets, we have to have a legitimate discussion. And yes, there are some cheap owners that are causing all of this, and I'm looking at guys like Bob Nutting, the Monfort family, the Pirates, Rockies, the Twins. They're also directly causing this, and they're not helping matters either with their lack of ponying up for any of the big name free agents. But at some point, enough is enough. And right now is right now.
Like, there needs to be a change. John, I want to get your thoughts on this. I feel bad. You've kind of been having a little bit of popcorn, probably looking at your trophy while watching this. What's your thoughts on all this?
So there's a lot of things bouncing around in my brain. You know that video game where you hit the ball and it bounces off the bricks?
Oh,
yeah. That's what my brain is doing right now. Yeah. So my first thought is, from my perspective as an agent type thinker, this is an agent's dream right now to be part of this contract, to be in this era of Major League Baseball. But I think this is a controversy that will go down in history, like the steroids in baseball. Like, this is going to be remembered. This is going to be an epic part of MLB history. How it gets fixed, what changes, is going to be fascinating for me, because now that you've let the genie out of the bottle, you put a salary cap on, but you still have these deferred payments. And, you know, you guys want to be pissed off and mad at the Dodgers, which I understand because they've exploited this this part of how baseball is being run to the nth degree. And now you have a $2 billion roster, which is just insanity to me.
Mm-hmm.
But, something happened in 2001 on July 1st that started this whole thing. And every July 1st until 2035, we're going to say Bobby Bonilla Day, right? So
Yeah.
I go all the way back to Bobby Bonilla Day, and he was the first one that had this deferred payment type thing, and the way that these contracts are structured are getting more and more deferred, more and more technical with the opt-outs and things like that. So you don't have loyal players anymore. And I experienced this with the Mariners. We lost players this year because they're chasing money, and they're not. I don't have players that are going to stick around after almost getting to the World Series. The Mariners got as close as they're going to get. You have teams like the Marlins, teams like the Pirates that will never get that far as long as you don't put a salary cap on. So while I enjoy playing devil's advocate and kind of saying, well, the Dodgers aren't doing anything wrong, but they're also ruining it for everybody else. And my question is, where does the train run off the tracks? When's it's gonna break off? It's gonna fall off. We're gonna get a lockout. We're gonna get some sort of finality to how this is going, and it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be fun.
I think for starters, well, we're definitely going to get a lockout. That's for sure. Confirm we're going to get a lockout. They're not saying it, but we're going to get a lockout. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get baseball, we're going to get a shortened season. Best case scenario, we get a shortened season. Worst case scenario, we get no baseball at all. And I think there's a slim chance that we get no baseball at all. And it pains me because I'm a huge fan. I love baseball. And I think that it's definitely improved with the pitch clock, with the bigger bases, with stealing bags becoming more common, the star athletes playing the game, it's more popular. But when the train runs off the tracks, I'm thinking if we get $1 billion contract, something along the lines how Juan Soto got that $765 million contract with an extra $40 million counting signing bonus or something like that. If we get a $900 million or $1 billion contract, that's when the train will go off the tracks. And I think that at that point, then things have gone off the rails and hell and back is coming. And the Dodgers, one thing I am going to say, you're putting yourself in financial hell for the future. Because yes, while you have these deferred payments, you have to wait years and years to pay off these guys. For instance, that Ohtani contract from 2034 to 2043, they owe him $68 million a year. So after he's done with the Dodgers, they got $68 million that they had to pay for him a year. So kind of like how John mentioned the Bobby Bonilla Day thing, it'll be Shohei Ohtani Day at one point for a 10-year period. And it's not going to be pretty for the Dodgers. They'll be in financial hell when all these guys retire.
Well, the Mets created one day, and we talk about it every July 1st. The Dodgers have what, 6?
6, yeah.
They're gonna be, they have players that are gonna have their own day.
Yeah.
6 times.
Shohei Ohtani Day, Freddie Freeman Day.
Whole week.
Yeah. An entire week.
An entire week's worth of paying off deferred payments. And like I said, I want to feel bad for the Dodgers for what they're doing, but at this point, they created this monster. They really did. And
my question is going to be, okay, you turn on the salary cap, but what do you do over here with these deferred payments? That isn't going to go away. So that franchise still has to continue to make those payments. They're just bracketed by a completely different salary cap that they're operating under for the continued future.
Here's what I'll say about that, John. Here's what I'll say about the deferred payments. If you're not going to get rid of them completely, which I'm all for, then restructure them in a way to where if you go over a certain amount, then you get penalized even more, whether it's more luxury tax or losing draft picks or whatever, or what have you. But restructure everything, including the deferred payments. But I would restructure in a way to where, if you go over a certain amount deferred, if you go over a certain percentage of a player's contract, that's deferred, the total amount of value, then you should be heavily penalized. Like if you even go $1 million over. So I think that's where you can start with that at least.
So like a good fraction of it gets deferred. So like if like say for instance I have like a $200 million contract to play for the Los Angeles Dodgers, like maybe a good 10% of it could get deferred, and that's it. Then you have to pay everything else. That's how I feel like there needs to be a fraction of what needs to be deferred, and the rest you can just pay off. But you also have to be able to hold on to the money and get that money and have it ready. Otherwise, you're being a Stephanie Tanner and stealing stuff without paying the full amount. Like I said, I've referenced that episode several times. It's a good episode of Full House, but it's telling. It's a very good episode to point at when talking about deferred payments.
Well, you have to grandfather in everything that's happened now and before, and then everybody pays the same salary cap going forward, and that's the only way to do it. But you're not fixing the problem for another 6 years while all these contracts are carried out.
Right.
But 6 years from now, then everybody is on the same level playing ground, and you have the MLB that's a lot more like the NFL, where teams are, the Patriots took them 7 years to get back to the playoffs like they are this year. So, I like that a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
I think Rob Manfred as commissioner has not done a good job financially working this through. And keep in mind, he's done as commissioner after the 2028 season. I think whoever comes in as the next commissioner has a lot to look at as far as like an overall picture of Major League Baseball and how to fix it from a financial standpoint and how to balance things out. Because Rob Manfred, I don't think, has done a good job at all in that department.
Sadly.
And I can criticize Rob Manfred about a bunch of other things, but I don't feel like going into a full-scale baseball rant on a 2-hour show, especially when we've gone 32 minutes.
Conducting chaos.
Conducting chaos. But like we're 32 minutes into this already, and I think I've just lost my cool about Major League Baseball. But like, it's a good discussion to have because, again, the problem has been getting worse and worse and worse. All I will say is if the Dodgers get Cody Bellinger,
Lord knows what's going to happen.
You don't
Lord knows what's
need
going to happen to
him.
me.
You don't need him, but you can get him just cause.
Look at your prospects, Dodgers.
Hey, listen. In other words, Cody Bellinger's right in front of you. We don't need him. We don't need him. We definitely don't need him. We got our prospects. We don't need him. We don't need him. We don't need him. We don't need him. And then Andrew Freeman in the back of the head. We need him. And then they throw all their money away. Like, I don't want that. I don't want that. Because seriously, you're just opening a can of worms that doesn't need to be opened. And honestly, it wouldn't be a good day for me, I can tell you right now, if the Dodgers get Cody Bellinger.
No, I might quit watch. I would only watch Judge play.
I would probably watch Aaron Judge at bats, and that's it. I would probably boycott baseball.
No, baseball fans said this last year, and guess what happened?
But like another thing I want to get into, like this should probably be worse than the '94 strike, honestly. Like the '94 strike, it wasn't this bad in '94. Like this year, it's becoming out of control. And
it's a headache.
Like think of it, Major League Baseball's popularity is at a high that it hasn't seen in a very, very long time. And the last thing the players and the owners and the managers would want is to see the league's popularity go down because of stuff like this.
Well,
baseball has been hung over for years and it needs to sober up.
Seriously.
Toronto finished the job. Toronto, I beg of you, finish the job this year.
Please. We're begging you. You're America's team and you're not even from America.
You have unfinished business to take care of. Even though you lost Bichette, you added Okamoto and you can slide over Clemente second. Barger and Santander should platoon nicely at right field, or Barger and Okamoto over third base, however you want to prefer it. But finish the job. I implore you.
Seriously, we're all imploring you.
I got C's too.
Oh my God. All right. Now that I've gotten that out of my system, the Major League Baseball season is going to start in late March. But I gotta get back to positive vibes here because I'm wearing my Giants hat. I'm wearing my Giants jersey. Kevin's wearing his Cam Scatterboot jersey. John's wearing his Seahawks gear. Alec is wearing a white and gray shirt with a Pittsburgh background. But anyway, John Harbaugh is the new head coach of the New York Giants. They gave a 5-year, $100 million contract. He had a very extensive meeting on Wednesday where he toured the facility. He got to talk to Jackson Dart. He met with ownership, and the meeting went so well, he never flew back to Baltimore, which is where he's from. And now he takes over a Giants team that has been in very dire straits for the most part over the last 15 years. And he's a former Super Bowl champion, former 4-time AFC championship participant. And I couldn't be any more happier to see this man come into MetLife Stadium. Now, listen, I'm not saying that we're going to be successful, best team in the league first year with John Harbaugh, but I definitely think we're going to be coached better. I think discipline's going to be a big thing for the Giants. I also think that the Giants are going to be coached properly. And the defense, which was such a bad thing last year, is going to get better. And I think that it takes John Harbaugh to find the right defensive coordinator. And we've already heard rumblings of John Harbaugh bringing in his staff. He talked about bringing in Todd Monken most likely. He talked about, other names on his staff that he had in Baltimore coming over to New York. I mentioned Mike Kafka potentially staying on the staff, and I think he should as an offensive assistant in some capacity. But ultimately, this is a good thing because the Giants have a coach with a Super Bowl pedigree on their sideline, coaching this team the way they should be. This was a 4-13 team last year, but you know what? The potential is there, and I'm all for it. Now, it's all about putting it together. New York has not experienced anything like this in the last few years. Basically, when Aaron Rodgers came to the Jets, now that optimism died very quickly. But this is basically how it's similar to that, if that makes sense. Would you agree, Kev?
Yeah, I would say so, Matt. I mean, this was the perfect storm for the Giants to put it in just a couple of words, because as soon as Dable got fired after that Bears game, you're like, okay, the head coaching cycle will be interesting. And then before Harbaugh got fired by the Ravens, we're like Kevin Stefanski, Mike McCarthy. I'm like, who's going to be the best fit? And people were saying Stefanski, although I'm not really high on Stefanski. Like I told you, I'm like Mike McCarthy, I guess I wouldn't mind. And then we find out that the Ravens fired Harbaugh after the loss to the Steelers. By the way, thank you, Tyler Loop, for missing that field goal. Because even though that the Ravens owner said he still would have fired Harbaugh, but just a week later, it was a week sooner that we were able to pick up John Harbaugh. And as soon as he was available, I'm like, grab him. This is literally the perfect opportunity for the Giants because he's the best head coaching candidate on the cycle, and he's literally there for the taking.
Oh yeah,
and like you said, the team went 4-13 this past season. But when you watch all the games, they're way better than the record suggests. There's so many times this past season where they should have won the game and they just couldn't close it out because it was either bad defense by Shane Bowen or it was poor coaching or what have you, or the players just couldn't close the games out. Like we should have beaten a ton more teams this past season. We should have beaten the Broncos. Yeah. We should have beaten the Bears. We should have beaten the Cowboys the second game, even though Russell Wilson was starting. And even though we won the last couple of games, we should have won way more. And I think what could have happened if Jackson Dart would have started the year. And now he's a Rookie of the Year candidate this year. And I think that if Jackson Dart did not have the rookie season that he just had, John Harbaugh would not be here. Because Harbaugh sees the vision. He sees the absolute potential that this kid Jackson Dart can bring, and the pieces and the injuries to Scatteraboo and to Neighbors played a big part of it too. When they were hurt at the beginning of the year, first Neighbors, then Scatteraboo.
Correct.
You really start to feel that the Giants really missed those two guys, and we have pieces. Like if we can re-sign Wan'Dale Robinson along with Neighbors healthy, Scatteraboo healthy. Brian Burns was second in the league in sacks behind Myles Garrett, who technically tied the sack record, I would argue, with Jared Allen. But we have defensive players there. Abdul Carter was top 5 in quarterback pressures. Dexter Lawrence, he was not good in sacks, but I feel like it's just a mental thing. With Harbaugh as his coach, I expect him to get way more. And this in our offensive line with a healthy Andrew Thomas. We were a top 10 offensive line. We've had that problem for years. And now to see that we got this guy, and I know nothing's official yet. We're still finalizing. The most recent update that we have currently for John Harbaugh is that they're just working out the details of the contract, and that lawyers are getting involved. They want to make sure that the contract is, everything's settled with structure and all that. And apparently it's 30 to 40 pages long. So that's why it's taking a long time. So we might not even see an announcement until maybe tomorrow or maybe over the weekend. But Harbaugh is going to be the coach of this team. And I have to give so many shout outs to the Giants front office. A lot of guys. First, Chris Mara. Chris Mara took it on his liberty to travel all the way to Baltimore to meet with John Harbaugh in person first, to kind of set the table a little bit. So kudos to Chris Mara. Brian Tisch. He took the liberty to fly his own private plane from New York to Baltimore, pick John Harbaugh up, and then fly back to New York to conduct that. Joe Shane, he has redeemed himself from going from being a bad GM to what he has been doing so far to being, he has been redeemed because he was the driving force of this entire thing. His decision of if he can, his ability to be able to work with a guy like John Harbaugh, if he was going to get fired or having to be demoted to he did whatever it took to get that guy in. Whatever he said in the interviews, the phone calls, it worked. And I can applaud him for that because he needs to have that because I think he was great. Last but certainly not least, John Mara. I might get emotional saying this, but I'm so happy for a guy like John Mara because he absolutely needed this. This guy is 71 years old, battling cancer. He literally rescheduled his cancer treatment just to be able to be in those head coaching interviews for John Harbaugh because he knows and cares too much about this team to let a guy like John Harbaugh go. It's just so inspiring, man, because this guy has been the brunt's end of the stick when it comes to the organization of this team. I don't know if it was his decision or Joe Shane's decision to re-sign Daniel Jones and let Saquon and Xavier McKinney walk. But you can see in that Hard Knocks episode, he was going to be absolutely sick if Saquon went to the Eagles. And look what happened. They just won a Super Bowl. To see a guy like John Mara, who is a co-owner of this team along with Brian Tisch, to get this guy, John Harbaugh, who has won a Super Bowl, who has done nothing but win and knows how to rebuild cultures and has seen the vision, and the fact that they didn't make John Harbaugh, they refused to let him interview with the Titans and the Falcons. They got it done. Even though it was late at the first night, I was literally in bed when it happened, and I saw it. I stayed for 5 minutes because I was just so pumped. What? And I can't believe it, man. I'm not saying we're going to be a Super Bowl team, but now the expectation for so long that we haven't seen, the expectation now is to win, not to lose anymore like we've seen every Sunday. The expectation now is to win. And I expect John Harbaugh to bring in a staff that he trusts, and he has guys that he can work with. And Jackson Dart being a part of that interview process with him, I'm that's a wrap. That has to be what seals it, because there's no way. I was there's no way that John Harbaugh was going to look at Jackson Dart in person in the face and say, you know what? Let me go with the Titans and the Falcons instead. There's no way. I'm Falcons have Kirk Cousins, who's a little bit on the older side, overpaid, and even the Falcons didn't even trust him because why would they? Because they drafted Michael Penix and he started more games than Kirk Cousins has. So I'm that wouldn't work, but at least it would be an easy division if you want that. Or the Titans, Cam Ward, I can see the potential maybe, but his team is bad. There's a ton of work they got to do. But the one thing that they did have over the Falcons and Giants was their cap space. They had over $100 million or something in cap space. Am I right?
Yeah.
Am I correct about that, John? Something around the number?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's no way John Harbaugh would pick the Titans or Falcons over the Giants after meeting with Jackson Dart if he wasn't feeling comfortable with Joe Shane. But I have to give shout out and credit and a major round of applause for all of the Giants front office.
Yes.
They did everything right in this entire process, and I just couldn't be more proud to finally wear a Giants jersey and gear with pride that I haven't felt for so long. I would even argue I haven't felt it since Eli was the quarterback here. Yes, we won a playoff win a few years ago with practice squad receivers against the Vikings.
Yeah.
I don't really count that because I feel like it was more so the Vikings just had a bad defense, but it didn't pan out whenever we did extend Daniel Jones. So I'm just so proud, man. I could not be more happier to be a Giants fan.
I feel like the Giants front office, like the whole organization as a whole, put together a coordinated and well thought out plan to get John Harbaugh here. They did everything right when it came to this. Yep. And I feel like John Mara battling cancer, I think the whole organization knew that he wanted to have this special guy in the organization coaching this team, and the potential is absolutely there. I know Tennessee, they have some flashes with Cam Ward, but the Titans, like I said, lack of cap space in the bad team around Cam Ward. And then the Falcons, they have an aging Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix Jr., who I think is a little bit on the overrated side. And think of it. The Giants were 4-13 this year. But you know what? Like I said, next year, I don't think we're going to be Super Bowl favorites. But you know what? It's a steady process. It's a steady build up to the top. And I think that if you're Philadelphia, Washington, or Dallas, I think you need to be a little bit intimidated now. And I will say one thing in a karaoke thing. Good morning, Baltimore. You done really messed up for sure, because you're going to regret this for wholeheartedly. You're going to regret this because Steve Bisciotti should not have fired John Harbaugh. I don't know why he did it. And I think that everyone across the NFL was shocked. But you know what the best thing was? The Giants had a sense of urgency. They hopped on top of it. They did everything right, and that's what happened. What the Atlanta Falcons did? They held a Zoom meeting with John Harbaugh.
Nope. I was like, when I saw that, I was like, there's no way. Why would we go to the Falcons? And I saw it was virtual. I'm like, okay, it wasn't in person. The C went to the Giants first in person, told me a lot. And the fact that like I said, Tish and Chris Mara specifically took the liberty to go see him and bring him back to New York to discuss things and take him out to dinner, toward the facility. It was a whole day. That told me a lot about the sense of urgency. I'm like, this is great. This is what I love to see. Hal Steinbrenner, take notes, because that is what an owner with a sense of urgency and a care for your team does to get a player or a coach in here. Take notes, Hal Steinbrenner.
Seriously, I wish all the other New York franchises could learn from what the Giants did. This team wants to get better, and it's pretty clear and obvious by everything that they did over the course of this week. Mm-hmm. All right. Again, I feel bad for John and Alec. Alec,
please. Yeah.
I feel Harbaugh was in the same boat as Mike Tomlin was. We're going to get to Tomlin later because Harbaugh and Tomlin were both past their expiration dates with their respective teams. And now that they're gone at the same year, they got to be in an awkward meeting together in between all of this and said, we did all right for a couple of goofballs. And then they dried out. Yeah, there's two SpongeBob references on the same episode. And we're making this count, of course. But Harbaugh feels an instant need and is the best head coach the Giants hired since Tom Coughlin.
Yes.
Coughlin led the Giants to 2 Super Bowls with this team, and that tells you how much he means to the organization. He means more than just a coach. The intensity, the rigor, and the fact that players want to play a hard and physical style for him. They love Tom Coughlin in Giants country. But ever since his firing, the Giants lacked a clear-cut identity. Then McAdoo was promoted to maintain continuity. That didn't work out this second year. Pat Shurmur, disaster. Joe Judge, disaster. Brian Daboll, was promising at first, and then falling off a cliff. Harbaugh was a must for the Giants. Nobody talked or wrote about the Giants unless they had to, and it's usually for all the wrong reasons. Now, this all changed. The Giants know that where the state the franchise is. A franchise is trending on the upward trajectory with Dart, Scadaboo, and Neighbors. You get the most credible and most decorated coach available to restore that credibility to a franchise that lost their identity. You want to establish a winning culture. You want to establish a clear presence in the locker room. Now, he may be a CEO type of head coach who's
Yeah.
more hands off, but he knows what he's doing as a head coach. He knows the goal that's ahead. Now, like the both of you, Matt and Kevin, I don't expect Super Bowl for the Giants, but playoffs can be a good outlook of where the franchise can go for next season. I can see them making a wild card next season, but this was the right hire for the Giants. Now, of course, it comes to the caveat of the danger of blown fourth quarter leads because Harbaugh's fallen into that trap throughout this decade. If you watch week 1 against Buffalo, you'll understand. But if you want to restore credibility to the franchise, this is your guy, period.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I really couldn't have. John, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, I've been doing front office reports, grading front offices, talking about how much cap money they have, their top 5 players as far as contract negotiations go. And I just did the Giants. So the Giants are probably one of my favorites. If I was Harbaugh, it would have been on the top of my list because you have one of the higher cap rooms, and you also are going to have a really good draft. You had a good draft in 2026.
You did.
Able to put some pieces on the board with this draft. I guarantee you they're going to get at least one wide receiver. This draft is going to be heavy on wide receivers. So I'm looking forward to the Giants and what they're going to take to put on the other side. And then you guys can spend some money, go after some D-line or offensive line and get some veterans up there. And then solidify the backfield and some wide receivers in the draft. So, you look at the Raiders who have the most cap space.
Yeah.
They're a lot earlier in their rebuild, and they have a long way to go. And that ownership is just sticky, messy to me. Arizona's not that attractive. Tennessee's kind of similar to the Raiders. So I think the Giants franchise is a lot more attractive, and it makes more sense for him to be there because he can take off his Ravens hat, put on the Giants hat, and go, okay, let's go beat the Eagles. Let's go beat the Cowboys.
Yeah.
I think you guys are going to be able to start doing that. And it's important as we go into this 2026 season to remember how hard your 2025 season was because you guys had one of the hardest schedules.
We did.
And this schedule coming up is not going to be easy, but you'll probably win all or most of your home games for sure.
I saw,
Yeah, that's the good thing that you brought up because we had a very tough schedule. We finished, but now we're going to get a last place schedule. We got the AFC South this year, which is definitely beneficial because besides Jacksonville and Houston, we got Tennessee at home. I mean, that should be fair. And then we got the NFC West. All right, that's going to be a little bit tough because the NFC West is stacked, except for Arizona. And we got Arizona at home. So we're going to have a little bit of a lighter schedule. We got the Browns at home, too. So we got some really easy teams, and I think that this should be a really beneficial thing for us. And I think overall, the Giants' 5th overall pick, you're probably thinking like a receiver we talked about before we came on the show. We talked about Caleb Downs as a potential good pick. If we can get Wan'Dale Robinson back, who had a really good breakout year.
Yeah.
And if Malik Neighbors gets healthy, our receiving core will be really good. John?
I just wanted to finish my thought and say 2 more things.
Sure.
The whole reason Harbaugh just got hired by the Giants was because of his loyalty to his coaches. And you don't see that anymore. I think that's something the Mara family probably respects more than any other franchises that are out there. And then I said it earlier, I think this is probably Joe Shane's last year as the GM of the Giants.
Most likely.
I think they're probably that 30 pages has a lot to do with how much input and influence Harbaugh is going to have on the next GM, and that'll play out next year.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because one of the things that Jim
Yeah.
Harbaugh said in his requirements of the team he wanted to go to, he wanted to pick his own GM. So there had to be a little bit of a line in the contract that says current general manager might be ousted next year, depending on how it goes. But Joe Shane, I will say this. Even though he's iffy and he's up and down with Giants fans and his organizational continuity has been up and down and inconsistent, he does draft well. That's the number one thing I will say about Joe Shane. And if he's going to go down this year, he's going to go down swinging. I can tell you that because he's smarter than I think most people give him credit for. There's a reason why he was the assistant general manager in Buffalo. He's smart, and I think he could pull this off.
Speaking of the draft, real quick, one guy I can't believe I left out, even though he's not with the organization anymore, Brian Dable. Even though he got fired, he put in a good word and talked to John Harbaugh personally about how top of the class the Giants organization is. And keep in mind that Jackson Dart was his pick, not Joe Shane's. Joe Shane was immediately against the pick of picking him and trading up for when they did. But Brian Dable was pleading to him and begging him to pick him. And Joe Shane was like, well, if you're right, nobody is going to remember a third-round pick if you're right. And guess what? He got it right. Now we have the quarterback, and that's probably a big reason why John Harbaugh is even here. So Brian Dable, I got to give you a shout out to him.
Wait, that Brian Dable, John Harbaugh thing, that's really true?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I respect that man so much more now. I can't believe he actually talked to him.
Yeah.
Hey, listen.
It's crazy. Yeah.
I will say this about Brian Dable. He did win Coach of the Year his first year with the Giants. And he was loyal to the team through and through. It wasn't like a Joe Shane situation where he talked trash about the organization or called them a clown show. It wasn't like Pat Shermer where he had no clue what he was doing. And it wasn't like Ben McAdoo where he threw players under the bus. So I will give Brian Dable that. He was a real head coach. It didn't last long, but you know what? He did everything he could, and he did a decent job.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're 57 minutes in. We won't go through 2 segments. So we got a lot to do. We're going to go over the wild card round. We're going to go over the Mike Tomlin resignation. We're going to go over the NCAA and CBA scandal in point shave. We're going to go over all that. But we have to get a shout out to our sponsor, that's DAS Announcing Consulting. DAS Announcing Consulting has several different services across from certified hardware and OEM third-party maintenance services. And if you want to know more about DAS and what they can bring in their mission, here's Darren Sirianni. Take a listen.
Our mission is to deliver high quality, scalable, and secure data center services that ensure seamless operations for clients across various industries, offering best-in-class data center services all under one roof.
And again, thank you, DAS, for everything that you do and sponsoring and supporting the show. We are so grateful for you. So we got hour number 2 of the show, and we have a little special guest for you. My cousin, Ryan Behringer Jr.
Oh, no way.
How's it going?
The return of
What's
the
happening?
king.
We missed you, buddy.
The return of the king.
Hello, fellas. How's it going?
Okay.
So Ryan is with us for hour number 2. I talked him into it. He was more than happy to do it. How you doing, cuz?
Oh, doing good. Ready for football tomorrow. It's gonna be an early day. I just got the new report that apparently there's gonna be snowfall in New England tomorrow, so that's gonna be interesting.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah, so no Nico in the snow. It's gonna be yeah.
Should be a defensive grind. So we are going to get back to the NFL because we have a lot of playoff games to get to. But before we get into that, we do want to get into the Mike Tomlin resignation. So Mike Tomlin, after 19 years as Pittsburgh Steelers head coach, has resigned. This comes as Mike Tomlin was getting TV deal offers, and also a little bit of burnout must have come into play as John Watts is trying to get back into it. But anyway, Alec, this is your team. Was it time?
It was, if we're being honest. 19 years as a head coach, it's a remarkable run, no matter how you put this. But you can only coach a team that has been fielding mediocre rosters for so long until it gets to you. But at the same time, with Tomlin, you could only run out of people to blame for so long to save your own skin for so long. You look at Randy Fichtner, and that was an absolute must move on from. Matt Canada was held on to for 1 or 2 years longer than he actually should have when he was promoted. Arthur Smith is meh. Not good, not bad, just plain meh at the same time. But with Tomlin, I'm not going to bash him in any way, shape, or form, but I was hoping changes were going to come last summer. We gave TJ a contract extension north of $40 million per year, traded Minka Fitzpatrick to land Jalen Ramsey and Arthur Smith, traded George Pickens to the Cowboys after getting DK Metcalf, and Pickens went out to have a career year, and signed Rodgers to be our QB after the experiment of Russell Wilson and Justin Fields fell flat at the last moment. We're right back to where we were. For as good as Tomlin as he is, he went on his own accord, stepping down as the head coach. But for the better part of the last decade, he navigated through this maze that's keeping the head coaching job in the NFL, where he's taking these rosters to the playoffs. Honestly, that's an impressive track record. While the Steelers are not good enough to make it all the way to the Super Bowl, this team with Tomlin as the head coach has made it to the playoffs every time I'm around. But we're over it the last 2 years. He wanted veterans under center. Fields and Russ were brought in. Promising, but we lost out our last 5 games. Then go to Rodgers, who was Tomlin's choice under center. He was good for what he's worth, in a year in which my expectations for Rodgers were so low after the year he had with the Jets. He did okay for what it's worth, but at the end of the day, his mobility was lost, and it feels like we just saw the closest to what we saw to Dan Marino's final game. More on that later, by the way. But for Tomlin, we were all kids when he became the head coach.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh. Now we're young adults and now cover sports as a livelihood. He's become an integral part of the Steelers for approximately the last 2 decades, especially when you connect his years to Ben Roethlisberger's years and the years of Paul Amalu, Antonio Brown, James Harrison, TJ Watt. That's all connected under Mike Tomlin. You think of all the good memories, such as the AB helmet catch against the Ravens, the Amalu, the Santonio Holmes catch, the game against Miami at home in the playoffs, nearly making the playoffs with Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph.
Yep.
The 11th and this final win of his career against the Ravens, at least as the Steelers head coach. Those are some happy memories. But you got to realize the message is getting stale. He's going to take a year off to do television, and if he were to come back to coaching, he's going to be a trade candidate a la Sean Payton, because we technically own his rights. So if any team were to get him, somebody's going to have to offer draft picks to get him. But we're a team that has had to undertake the extensive process of hiring a new head coach in almost 2 decades, which makes this an interesting spot for us. But Mike Tomlin was a good hire at the time. It made complete sense. Knowing the Steelers, we prefer young defensive coordinators who had great seasons as a DC in the previous job. They're also young and defensive minded. Chuck Noll, defensive coordinator with the Colts, hired at 37. Bill Cowher, defensive coordinator of the Chiefs, hired at 35.
Yes.
And Tomlin, defensive coordinator of the Vikings, hired at 34. Knowing this trend, I expect that we're going to have Chris Shula as their next head coach.
I was just thinking.
Rams, 39 years old. That's who I expect to have, and he's right now the favorite for betting markets to be the Steelers head coach. I'm not a betting man, but knowing our trend with head coaches, I expect Shula as our next head coach.
It's a good thought process. The Pittsburgh Steelers over the last 6 decades have had this defensive-minded scheme when it comes to their head coach. They hire defensive coordinators, like you said, with Chuck Noll and even Bill Cowher. It's in their blood to They like having a good defensive mindset, especially a good defense. So I think Chris Shula would make sense. And you mentioned one thing, that a team with a bunch of draft picks could trade for Tomlin's rights. I wonder who has the draft capital.
Oh, gee golly, I wonder.
Well, we don't know just yet because we're going to have to wait another year to have that answer. Right now, it's too early, Matt.
That's fair. That's fair. But anyway,
To be
Ryan,
fair-
you and I are in our own family chat. You mentioned the possibility of getting Mike Tomlin after 2026. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I would be thrilled, and it's comedy to me how coming from a Steelers perspective, just saying like we fired him because we're tired of winning. Like the things I would do to like go 9-8 and make the playoffs and boot my team out of the stadium in a wild card game. Like the things that I would do. Like I have gone like to put it into perspective. The last time the Jets made the playoffs, I was in 5th grade. I have gone through middle school, high school, and college, and my team has not made the playoffs. Like just putting that, like we say, yes, we haven't made it in 16 years, right? So going on 17. Like that, it doesn't sound as bad when you say I've gone through middle school, high school, and college, and they still haven't made. Like it just putting it that way sounds like even worse. But there is one little thing out that you kind of forget with Tomlin is that he has a no trade clause. So Tomlin could technically, I don't know how the relationship is, but he also could play hardball with the Steelers and say, hey, I only want to go to this team, right? And kind of play like the Aaron Rodgers game or like these typical guys that have no trade clauses where they kind of don't hamstring their new team that they're going to, where it's like instead of them having to give up like, I think it would still be a first, but I think it would be like the latest first. Like he's like, I'm not going anywhere but like let's just say the Vikings, or I'm not going anywhere but the Colts, right? Like he could say that. So that team, like obviously his stock would go down just due to the no trade clause and him saying I'm only going here. Whereas if you're a free agent like John Harbaugh, you have every option. So I definitely do think probably like Sean Payton, just because of the age, how old Mike Tomlin is, he's 15 years, I think, on Sean Payton. So just that alone. I think the one thing though for Mike Tomlin is like I think his demise in Pittsburgh after the Ben Roethlisberger times was that Mike Tomlin, unlike John Harbaugh, was never able to hire an offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach to help develop the new quarterback. Right. I think that's kind of his thing. Where John Harbaugh, like, even though like John Harbaugh is not even a defensive guy, he's a special teams guy. They went from Joe Flacco to Lamar. Like they went from literally one side of the spectrum to the other in terms of quarterback and like did it flawlessly. And like you got to give a lot of credit to obviously John Harbaugh, but to Greg Roman, who changed the entire scheme of the offense for Lamar Jackson. Right. And then obviously that style stopped working a little bit. So they add Todd Monken. They go more of like ground and pound. They add Derrick Henry. Right. So like a lot of it is like who you surround yourself with. So I love Mike Tomlin. I'm just saying I think the difference between Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh is that John Harbaugh was able to post the Joe Flacco era, was able to find a new quarterback and develop compared to Mike Tomlin, where he was always picking from like guys out after their first team. But I still think Mike Tomlin's a Hall of Famer. I don't know if you guys saw who was the ex-Steeler today that said like he doesn't think Tomlin's a Hall. I think that's nuts. Like Tomlin can retire today and do TV for the rest of his life and he's still a Hall of Fame coach.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, he could go onto TV and be a candidate to, I don't know, if Terry Bradshaw retires from broadcasting, Tomlin could replace him over at the Fox studios.
Yeah, just have him and Bill Cowher next to each other.
Cowher works for CBS.
Cowher CBS. But
CBS. Sorry, CBS. Yeah. I think it'd be funny to have two ex-Pittsburgh Steelers coaches just next to each other. Be like, yeah, we suck.
Anyway, I want to get into the front office side of things. This is where John Welch comes in. So, John, knowing that Mike Tomlin is now gone and now that they're on the search for a new head coach, how does this change the complexion of the Pittsburgh Steelers program and maybe their draft strategy?
Well, I think that is a huge conversation. The first thing that I would do is make sure that Mustache Arthur Smith isn't there anymore because obviously his play calling was atrocious. I see he's getting coaching interviews, and I don't understand why. I think some of his schemes are about as old as his '80s porno stash. But
Very,
you
very
know,
fair.
I just it's gonna be really interesting to see because you're behind the eight ball with DK now. So you're kind of rebuilding some of your wide receiver room. The defense is probably one of the oldest in the league. So you're drafting a strong defense. And then with what I saw with the Texans, they really got after Aaron. So you need to rebuild that O line as well. So you want somebody that can come in and be able to kind of manage all of that alongside of the GM. And that's for me, that's a lot of work. It's a big task because you're not rebuilding. You're as Alex said earlier, retooling a team. And I think at this point, Aaron's gone. The Kenny Pickett experiment did not work. So you have to probably are you sticking with Aaron for one more year and drafting next year's class? Because I don't like having to draft a quarterback and start over with what you're working with right now. So there's a lot of questions from the front office side as far as the Steelers go.
And the
I
pitch.
interest you in Kyler Murray because God, I don't want my team getting
No,
him. I would
you
be
know,
so angry.
if I'm honest, I can take a losing year this coming season, and that's okay. If you want to do a rebuild, tear down the roster to set the stage for your next quarterback, because 2027 is going to have a stacked quarterback class.
Yes.
But my priority is draft a wide receiver this year so that you can set up for whichever quarterback you're drafting in 27 for that year. Would it be who's it going to be? Arch Manning, Dante Moore. There are a ton of options beyond those two. It's not just Arch Manning and Dante Moore.
Kyler Murray's going to cost you $33 million, by the way.
Whether they cut him,
the Jets or the Steelers.
Thanks, Arizona, but no thanks.
Just did their front office report for the Cardinals, and it's going to cost you $33 million for the last year of Murray's contract.
That's if they don't cut him.
Well, if they cut him, they pay it.
That's what I'm saying. So there's a potential like that they cut him. But I got a question for you guys then. So
Sure.
I guess my one thing is like I understand the whole retooling thing. I do. Trust me, my team's been tanking retooling forever. Like I get it. Right. But like I think the whole I think that the way the Patriots did it, like it was like if you draft effective, like you just suck for 1 year. 1 year. Like they went from obviously Tom Brady. They retooled, they drafted Mac, who was like mostly a pro-ready quarterback, right? Then they ended up sucking with Mac, right? Because he wasn't going to be the guy to lift them over the edge. Once the roster wasn't what the Brady roster was, we saw Mac Jones' flaws, right? Or I think they sucked for 1 year, then they end up getting Drake May. Like, I think, to your point, Alec, like if there's a year to just like take the foot off the gas a little bit, like it's this year, right? Like, because like the problem with the Steelers is you guys are never in striking distance of ever able to get one of those game-changing quarterbacks. And that's kind of like the problem. And like I've always like stood on this, like Matt kind of knows this. Like I don't think you're like unless you are like the Eagles and you have the best GM in football or you have the best roster in football, you need a top 7 quarterback to win. Like, it's statistically proven. If you look at every Super Bowl, like at least one quarterback in there is top 7. So like unless your roster's that good, like I'll allow the Houston Texans this year, like unless like that defense carries Stroud, like your quarterback just has to be top 7. Like it's so hard to win with like like it's so hard. So
There
that's
was
like I kind of
there was a 3-year period that most people forget about, and I think most Patriot fans want to forget about, where Bill Belichick completely re-racked the entire Patriots offense.
He did
around Cam Newton. And by that,
Cam Newton, that's right.
the
Yeah,
heavy,
a 1
the
year
heavy
period.
tight end sets and all of the money he brought in on free. They spent I think $88 million in free agency the year that they brought in Cam Newton. And
I remember that it was Johnny Smith, it was Hunter Henry.
Yeah, it was ridiculous, and it didn't work at all. And then Belichick left, and I think things started getting better for the Patriots. But those years were horrible for the Patriots as a team.
But I think that's sometimes like the best way to do it, right? Because like if you do like what they did with like you just live in like perpetual like we're good, but we're never great, and we're never bad enough to be like top. Like it's like the Steelers model where it's like you guys are always in the playoffs, but it's like I don't know, like Alec, have you ever walked into a season like this year? It's like, did you ever think you were winning it all this year? Like
No.
honestly.
I honestly think we were not close to a Super Bowl with the roster we had. Not at all.
And I think that's the problem, right? Like I think when you have like these retread quarterbacks that are like, yes, they're solid veterans, right? They're solid football players, but it's like they're not the guy, right? Like you have to have your guy to basically carry. Like it's been proven that it is a quarterback coach league at this point. So like if you don't have that duo, right? Like it's just so hard to win. Like, especially with Aaron Rodgers. Like, if you got Aaron Rodgers when he's 32, it's a whole different story, right? But it's just it's so hard. And it just shows you, like, importantly, where it's like why teams move off of like quarterbacks. And like, because it's like, if you don't have the guy, like, you're not going to win. You're just not going to do it. Right. Where it's like the Dolphins moving off of Tua, the Cardinals wanting to move off of Kyler. Like, these teams are realizing it's like, we're never winning with these guys, especially when we're paying these guys $50 million. Like, they're not good enough when they're making that much money to make up for deficiencies in rosters. And I think that's kind of like the thing that a lot of these newer school GMs, which is, I know, like a new thing, right? Like a lot of them understand that just because like, I just think that's kind of how it is. Like these newer school guys are like, you need that guy, where I think old school GMs are kind of like, we can build out the roster and all this other stuff, but it's a different ideology. But I kind of wanted like the opinions on that.
I'm really interested to see what the new coach is going to do with Will Howard.
Oh, that's the story in its own right.
Well, we don't know how truly ready he is.
Yeah, it's a story that remains to be seen. The Pittsburgh Steelers, by the way, they haven't had a losing season since 2003. They've gone 22 straight seasons without a losing record. That's the longest streak in NFL history, passing the 1965 to 85 Dallas Cowboys. That's pretty impressive. The culture that the Rooney family have built. But I do want to get into the playoff games because there are 6 games that we had to go over. This wild card weekend, by the way, was absolutely insane, to say the least. The first 4 games were decided by 3 or 4 points. So we have 4 panelists here and 6 games. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give
the Panthers don't look like they belong here.
Hey, listen. Every time I say something, I jinx it, okay? Ryan knows this. But anyway, we're going to get into these 6 playoff games. You're each going to get 1 game. And then the other 2 games will just figure it out. So we're going to start off with the Rams-Panthers game in Carolina. The Panthers erased a 14-0 deficit early, but Bryce Young and Matthews Dever went blow for blow in the fourth quarter. And then, oh my God, Colby Parkinson, an amazing catch in the end zone with less than a minute left, took the lead for the Rams. The Panthers had a terrible final drive, but here's what really hurt the Panthers this one. The 4th down gambles by Dave Canales and a terrible final drive execution-wise put the Panthers in terrible position, and the Rams escaped Carolina. It escaped Charlotte with a victory, and now they're heading to Chicago. I'm going to head to Alec for this one because this is technically his hometown team. Alec, what happened? What did you see?
It wasn't an easy game for the Rams, and for a second half stretch, it looked like Super Bowl aspirations were going to dissipate entirely. The Rams, though, they remember who they were. They had an account with just enough time and to escape with a win. And they needed those clutch performances from everyone. Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, they were popping off, but Puka was suddenly dropping passes, which was something uncharacteristic of him. Up until that final drive when Stafford was finding open hole after open hole. But special teams issues almost bit them in the back. A block punt on Ethan Evans.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. Special teams has been their Achilles heel this season, as has been the case in years past. What has constantly undone the Rams throughout the seasons? Special teams. That's been popping up as of recently. It led to the firing Chase Blackburn after the Zach Wortz pass game.
Yep.
And it looked like it almost was going to eat them here. Jalen Coker had the game of his life. Bryce Young is a Jekyll and Hyde sorts of quarterback. he's either going to throw for 300 yards or be completely ineffective at quarterback. And there's no in between with all of that. Carolina's defense came with a litany of question marks, but Mike Jackson has played the game of his life against Los Angeles. But man, what a game this was. Carolina showed a lot of fight, but the red zone defense fell apart. And those fourth down attempts from Dave Canales didn't work. But Matthew Stafford, he's the MVP, and he showed why. Carolina take this as a learning experience. Prevent defense prevents winning. You should take note of that if you were to go up against his legitimate teams. The fourth quarter was very concerning for the Rams when it looks like the issues were popping up at the worst possible time. But Harrison Mevis, it's been doing solid here as a kicker. But 4 fourth-quarter lead changes, that's the record, by the way.
Oh, yeah. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, the Panthers were heavy underdogs. But the winner of the NFC South that made the playoffs by way of a 3-team tiebreaker proved that they belong here. And Bryce Young's 2025 was the definition of chaos here. And this showing gave the Panthers plenty of reason that they can decide whether or not to pick up his 5th-year option. That's what we're gonna look at. But LA will go to Chicago, where admittedly out in the open with the winds and the cold, they have to snap out of this funk. But they do have the experience on their side.
And now we're going to get into, you mentioned the Bears. What a game from the Bears. So they were down 21-3 at the half. Jordan Love threw 3 touchdown passes in the first half. Bears trailed by 11 with 6.5 minutes to go, and then they rallied. They scored 25 points in the fourth quarter. This is the second time in 4 weeks that the Bears had to rally from a deficit like this against the Packers, ironically. And Brandon McManus proved to be the difference, missing 2 field goals, including one at the end of the first half. Another missed field goal, and then missing an extra point. Caleb Williams was throwing dimes in the second half, including a touchdown pass to DJ Moore that gave the Bears the lead. And then Jordan Love and the Packers could not take the lead back, and the Bears survive in Soldier Field. And we're waiting on a Matt LaFleur situation where they're trying to extend him and give him a contract extension. They were going to initially let that go, but he does have 1 year left on his contract, but the Packers are intending to keep him. I'm going to go to John on this one. So what is an update on the Matt LaFleur situation first off?
Things have been really quiet. As far as I'm concerned, they want LaFleur back. They took a look at the other coaches that were out there and didn't want anything to do with cocaine, Skyline Chili, McDaniels. They didn't want anything to do with Stefanski. Jonathan Gannon doesn't make any sense. So if there were better options, if they thought that they could have gone after Harbaugh, they probably would have fired LaFleur. But they're keeping him. They're probably going to try and go one more contract extension with him, and probably see how it goes next season. And as far as the Bears go, they're not there without Colston Loveland. They're the number 10 pick overall in the draft last year.
Yeah.
Agreed. Amen to that guy who cost me a championship in fantasy in the Series 87 Sports League.
Oh, my God. Well, I think keeping LaFleur around would be good for the short term because knowing that LaFleur is right up there in the top tier of coaches, the Packers are falling short every time. If the 7th seed didn't exist, there would be more discussions about fire LaFleur around the Packers fan bases.
Yes.
But given that LaFleur is the best option that they have right now, I think holding on to him will be good for the short term because this coaching cycle isn't particularly strong. So we'll have to see how that works, but jury's out on him.
Yeah, you are right about one thing. The Packers have been the 7th seed in the NFC playoffs for the last 3 years.
They're the Steelers of the NFC. The 6-9 is the original 6-7.
No. Anyway.
Well, you will get to Matt's worst nightmare.
Don't do it. Just don't do it. Anyway, we're gonna get into the Bills and Jaguars next. Early in this game, Josh Allen looked banged up. He hit his hand against one of the offensive or defensive linemen, and then he scored a rushing touchdown. Looked like he hurt his leg. That thing bent awkwardly. The Jaguars had many missed opportunities, including a missed field goal at the end of the half after a bunch of conversation whether or not to put a second back on the clock, but Cam Little missed the field goal to trail 10-7 going into the half. The Bills put a drive together. They score with less than a minute to go again to take the lead, 27-24. And then on the first play of Jacksonville's last drive, they threw Trevor Lawrence threw an interception to end it. But the beautiful thing about this was the viral moment of that Jaguars reporter praising the job that Liam Cohen has done all season. And you know what? It's nice because we need some good things every now and then. And that Jaguars reporter did a good thing. Yes, exactly. But overall, Jacksonville had their chances. They had an opportunity to score after they recovered a fumble recovery on a kickoff return. They had opportunities on a Josh Allen interception. They had opportunities to get the field goal before the end of the half. But they had a lot of missed opportunities. I'm going to come to Ryan on this one because Ryan, worst nightmare is the Buffalo Bills. Ryan, what did you see in that game?
Oh, I saw that's a non-conversation that Sean McDermott never learns his lesson. And I'm talking about the end of the game, where how many times has this guy gotten killed in the playoffs by being too conservative? Like, I know there's the whole saying of like, if I was Sean McDermott, I'm needing the ball when on first down, and I'm milking time off the clock. Because if I'm Sean McDermott, I don't think I could ever live down that Chiefs game from the AFC Championship, the 18-second game. I don't know if I could ever live that down. And they got very lucky that Trevor literally choked it away at the end. Because, like, I wasn't going to lie, like, they needed 3 points at time. Like, this game is easily going to overtime. Or, wait, that was to win, right? Like, what did they win by? What was the score like?
27-24.
It was a tie.
Yeah, okay, it was the tie. But I think everybody and their mother, knowing how that game was going, thought the Jags were going to march down that field with Cam Little, kick a game-tying field goal with a minute to go.
Right.
But besides the point, like, it's a non-story because obviously they won. Trevor threw a pick, but like, I think that's a big story. And I also think the problem is with Buffalo is like, especially now this week going into Denver, which we'll get into later, but different story. They are banged up with injuries right now. Like, they only have 3 active receivers.
Yes.
Right now. Yeah. I mean, until Curtis Samuel plays, I know it's Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, and Brandon Cooks. Yeah, with the 2 tight ends, with Kincaid, with Knox. But I think the problem was if they don't figure this out against Denver, I don't think they're going to win. James Cook needs to be better. Like, I know Jacksonville has like a top 5 rush defense. Like, I know the Jags, I think the whole season never gave up a 75-plus yard rusher the entire season, which is credit to the Jags. But, like, I think the Bills, if they can't run the ball against Denver, I don't think that they're going to win that game because I would think that between Jonathan Cooper and Nick Benito, I think Josh Allen is going to be a lot more uncomfortable against the Broncos than he was against the Jags because I don't think the Jags secondary is what the Denver Broncos have. I think their pass rush is better. So I think a lot of it is going to come down to how good can James Cook be on the ground game.
That's definitely going to be a big factor. I think that, definitely the Broncos secondary is better. Obviously, Pat Surtain and that secondary that Denver has. Nick Benito, I think, is the best pass rusher that the Broncos have, but their front 4 is not as stacked as Jacksonville's. So I think I think so.
They led the league in sacks. Are we really going to say that?
Yeah. I mean, come on. Nick Benito, Jonathan Cooper, Zach Allen, John Franklin Meyer.
That's what I'm saying.
This is the deadliest front 7 in the entire.
I'd argue to Houston, but
top 2. Second to Houston, but the point.
No, I agree. That's why I don't know. I think they're a little bit more susceptible in the run game, but like that's the problem with Buffalo. They're so one-dimensional because like unless Josh Allen is legit Superman, which to be fair, in the fourth quarter he was pretty much Superman. I don't think Josh Allen will be able to be Superman against this team.
I mean, he battled for 4 injuries, concussion, hand, foot, and knee, and still let the Bills still win against arguably the best team in the AFC.
I agree. I think another problem too, though, is if you watch the Texans schematically on defense, the Texans play a lot, or not the Texans, the Broncos play a lot more man coverage with Riley Moss, with Pat Surtain. So I think it's really going to come down to can Khalil Shakir, can Brandon Cook separate on these boundary corners in press man coverage? Because if they can't, we know Sean Payton's going to stack the box and stop James Cook.
Oh, yeah.
So unless these receivers can break man coverage, it's going to be a long day for the Buffalo Bills tomorrow or Sunday. In
a place with low altitude, John.
Yeah.
I don't think the Bills won. I think the Jags lost. They let Josh Allen have the ball and go all the way down the field to score with 4 minutes left on the clock. You look at that and you see Tom Brady do it, you see Mahomes do it, and now Allen's done it. And I look at the Jags team and I look at Liam Cohen and I say, this was an inexperienced head coach his rookie season who didn't manage the clock as much as he could. And with a minute left, they basically imploded because they didn't know what else to do. I think the Jags will be back. I think they'll probably be in the playoffs again. But the time management was huge for me as going down at the end of that game.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Okay, next game. We got the 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles. Demarcus Robinson stepped up big time. He had 6 catches for 111 yards and a touchdown in the absence of Ricky Pearsall. And then we also had Christian McCaffrey had 2 receiving touchdowns, one of which came from Juwan Jennings on an option pass in which Juwan Jennings got creamed on the back end, but still got it off in time. The Niners only had 1 penalty the whole game. Eagles were penalized 7 times. And the Eagles, this is the story of their game. They only went 5 for 16 on 3rd down. That's the biggest stat of the day. And Jalen Hurts did not look too good and did not look comfortable at all. And Eagles fans are already looking to can Nick Sirianni because, of course not. Why not? It's Philadelphia. And I know the reason why Alex is smiling because 23-19. We have 23-19.
Besides that.
Kevin, you want to take this one?
Sure, I'll take it. I called this. I remember when we were doing our bracket challenge, everyone here picked the Eagles except for me. I picked Niners because I saw exactly what was coming. The Eagles are not the same team like they were last year. Saquon was not as dominant as they were. Still a great defense, even though they lost some guys. But the offense was very, very hit or miss this season. Really inconsistent. So I kind of saw this coming. But even with the Niners, even with all the injuries that they had, they've been injury plagued all season long. But I was like, as long as Christian McCaffrey is healthy the entire season, the Niners are still going to be making a playoff run because they have Kyle Shanahan, who has been through these situations before. And I think in this game, it was all about, or if you said it, the Eagles were not effective on 3rd down. And the Niners defense showed up, and the Demarcus Robinson stepped up in a big way, like you said, in place of Ricky Pearsall. And now I think it's going to be a little bit tougher for the Niners because they have no George Kittle anymore, facing a tough Seahawks secondary. That I think it's going to be really tough for the Niners receivers to really get open and really get down the field because that Seahawks secondary, I think, is one of the best in the league. Like I said, I had Seahawks facing the Niners and beating them. But in this game in particular, like the Eagles, especially AJ Brown, like he, you know what? I am not what's it called? Apologetic about AJ Brown because he was whining and complaining the whole season about not getting the ball, and then whenever he does get the ball this time around, he drops it. There was maybe 3 crucial drops that he had in this game that could have easily won the Eagles the game, but like his butterfingers came into play here, and then like he lost the game. Devontae Smith wasn't that effective either. Actually, he was the only thing effective here. He had 8 catches for 70 yards. No one even had 5 catches after him. And A.J. Brown only had 3 catches, so not effective. Dallas Goedert had the lone touchdown in the game in terms of passing, but only 4 catches in that sense. Saquon Barkley did really good. He rushed on the ground for 106 yards and 26 carries, so he did his job. Jalen Hurts wasn't too bad, but also I think he had to do more than what he thought he was going to do. And what I mean by that is I mentioned that Jalen Hurts is a type of quarterback where he can throw for literally less than 100 yards and still win the game, all because of his elite defense kind of carrying him and kind of bailing him out at most games. And with a good running game like Saquon Barkley, and with you rushing the ball yourself at the 1-yard line, the push on 4th and 1 always, it's kind of easy pickings from there. But in this game, he actually had to throw and pass the ball, something that he could not do, especially to his main guy in A.J. Brown, who was ineffective. But like I said, the Niners' front 7 defensive line, even though they're banged up, are still good enough to be a team that is rattled inconsistently offensively like the Eagles. So I kind of saw this coming, and I'm kind of proud of myself. I'm going to pat myself on the back. Also, I hate the Eagles. Carry on.
Hey, same here, Kev.
You wanted to say something because you had a little smirk at one point and you were basking.
Yeah. Oh man, I've been waiting for this day. If this is not even a victory lap. Anyone with a football brain can see this happening to the Eagles. This year's Eagles is a complete waste of talent. One of the most talented teams in the NFL, with Jalen Hurts, with Saquon Barkley, with A.J. Brown, with Devontae Smith, with one of the best offensive lines in the league, and with one of the best defenses in the league, should not be a first-round exit. And I'm going to single out 4 players, 4 people in particular. Nick Sirianni, Kevin Patullo, A.J. Brown, and Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
First off, Patullo. He was a handpicked selection from Nick Sirianni. He clearly showed his inexperience at coordinator and looked like he had no idea how to run the job, much like Brian Johnson 2 years before. Now, good thing that he's not calling the offensive plays next season, but the next offensive coordinator for the Eagles should be hired by Roseman, not Sirianni. It should be a Roseman pick because Roseman was the one behind Kellen Moore. He was the one behind Shane Steichen.
Yep.
Secondly, Nick Sirianni. He's one of those coaches where you just don't know if he's actually good or not. And you don't know what he even does to the organization besides trash talking into fans, opposing fans, and even his own fans. And even give some word salads of pressers. Third, Jalen Hurts. He's clearly lost his grip as a runner. If you look at him, he's lost his confidence. With the deep balls, he's lost his confidence. He doesn't even trust himself. Either that or Patullo has regressed him to a vegetable. Maybe it's both, which I think it is the case. The next offensive coordinator has to get Hurts back to the way that he was to help him find that confidence. I still can have faith in him being a product that can be finished. But now, this clearly holds back my thoughts. And lastly, A.J. Brown. Goodbye. Sayonara.
Seriously.
Pack your bags and take the first flight out of Philadelphia. Roseman has to trade him on the first day that free agency opens because he talked all that trash throughout the season to say that he doesn't get the ball his way. And then the moment that he gets the ball his way, he lets it slip.
Yep.
And then he gets into arguments at the sideline with his head coach. And of all people to have me want to side with someone, it turned out that I'm siding with Nick Sirianni of all people and the sideline fight. What are you doing, man?
Not a good look.
I'm done with this. But I've been waiting to deliver a rant like this. It's not my fresh finer fried because I have something else related.
Okay.
That's how AJ Brown should get out of Philly ASAP.
Okay.
AJ Brown. AJ Brown. I know a team that needs a wide receiver. So
no, AJ Brown's on the first flight to Boston. Don't worry, he's a Pat next year. Unfortunately, he'll be.
If the Pats get him, enjoy him and his dropping issues and his head.
Well, Mike Vrabel had
like
him
with
in
Stephon
Tennessee.
Diggs.
He's going to take
Good
him again.
luck. You're gonna need it.
I understand, but I
True.
think Mike Vrabel's getting them. But I think the other thing is I think you people are forgetting who the next coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles is going to be. I know it's going to pain you Giant fans. Are we really going to act like Brian Daboll's not going to the Philadelphia Eagles? Yeah. Like Daboll is either going to the Raiders or he's going to Philly. Like it just makes so much sense. Like it just makes so much sense. Like Brian Day, like Jackson Dart, Jalen Hurts. Like I know Matt knows this, right? Matt knows that I think Jalen Hurts is average. Him and Brock Purdy, the two of them, are average. Jalen Hurts and Brock Purdy are both average. I will die on this hill.
Better.
Don't say that to Ryan. Don't say that to Ryan.
Don't. Brock Purdy and Jalen Hurts are the most mid quarterbacks I've ever seen. But besides the point. But I think we can all probably assume. I know we would hate it because I would hate it too. But I think Brian Daboll is definitely going to the Philadelphia Eagles.
I can see
either him or Mike McDaniel. Either one of those two.
Yeah.
Because the problem with Nick Sirianni, right, is like it's the kind of the same kind of argument about Mike Tomlin, but Mike Tomlin's obviously a better coach. But it's like, what can you tell me? What does Nick Sirianni do well? Like, what is his calling card? What does he do?
Not much.
Not much.
There's offensive guys, there's defensive guys, there's special. Like, what is his specialty?
He big dumbs really well.
Like, I've never seen a guy more dependent on his coordinators than Nick Sirianni. Once a year, he has good coordinators who goes to the Super Bowl. Shane Steichen, Jonathan Gannon, both lead to be head coaches. The next year, they suck. Then they get Kellen Moore, and they get Vic Fangio. Obviously, Vic Fangio, we've known, I think the whole NFL world knows Vic Fangio is the glorified defensive coordinator at this point. Gets Kellen Moore, offense turns around, he leaves as the head coach. He gets a new guy. Team sucks. Like, I think it's every other year with the Eagles when they get, like, either a retread head coach that failed as a head coach, that's an offensive guy, or he finds like an up-and-coming offensive guy that ends up leaving to get a head coach like Shane Steichen and like Kellen Moore. But I think now, especially with all the offensive guys that got fired, specifically Dable and Stefanski, or not Stefanski, sorry, McDaniel.
Yeah.
I think one of those two is going to Philly, and I think that's kind of the problem. And Alec, I do agree with you about the Jalen Hurts running effect. I don't think I saw the Eagles run a read option all season. Like,
no.
Kellen Moore made that their calling. Like, Kellen Moore had more of like an RPO style offense, right? Obviously, Saquon rushed for 2K, right? Jalen Hurts had another 6. Jalen Hurts had more touchdowns last year than Saquon. Granted, a lot of that was a tush push, but Jalen Hurts running it from like the 5-yard line and a lot of QB draws, a lot of read options, RPOs. I think the problem is like, I think Nick Sirianni is like one of those coaches, right? Where it's like when you look at the other side of Kyle Shanahan, like Kyle Shanahan like makes the offense easier for the quarterback. Where like I feel like they're putting too much on Hurts' shoulders, but I don't think he's able to be that guy to like run a traditional NFL offense. And I think the problem is in Philly is like Nick Sirianni doesn't have the ability to like if they were to ever fire like their OC, they don't have like it's not like he can take play calling duties, right? Like they just like they have if they have a bad hire, they just have to roll it out for the whole season and then change at the end of the offseason. I think that's kind of their problem. But I do agree. I think Howie Roseman has a lot of work to do, especially on the offensive side, because obviously Lane Johnson didn't play, but Lane Johnson's getting older, right? Obviously, I think AJ Brown is definitely gone, so they're gonna have to find another receiver, and then they're just gonna have to, like you said, find another OC. I mean, I don't know. I just think in this this day, I don't know how. I love how I think Howie Roseman was the best GM in football. I can't believe the Eagles kept here. I can't believe it.
Neither can I.
It's like they're one of like I hate that they're one of like the top 5 organizations in football. I hate it that they are. But like think about it. Like they know when a coach has kind of run its toll. Like they fired Doug Peterson after he won them a Super Bowl. Like 2 years after they fired him. Next year, like I think the problem is, especially with these coaches out there, like if I were them, I'd go get Stefanski. If I were them, I would have checked in on John Harbaugh. Like, I really think if they fired Sirianni, I think John Harbaugh would have went there over the Giants.
Yeah.
Like, I think the other problem, like, I think I would either take Mike McCarthy if I'm them. Because even Mike McCarthy, it's like, that's another argument that I'm not getting into now. But, like, the Mike McCarthy slander just bothers me. Where it's like, we're going to prop up John Harbaugh. But yet Mike McCarthy has basically as good of numbers as John Harbaugh. But besides the point.
Yeah.
Like,
very, very true.
Super Bowl. Like, sure, he had Aaron Rodgers. Sure, big whoop. Okay, he still made the playoffs every year with the Cowboys. Had 10, 11 wins every single season. But whatever. If I was the Eagles, I would have hired either Stefanski or McCarthy. But what are you going to do at this point? But I will argue, Alec, with that defense. Because now they're going to have to pay these guys. They can extend this year. They can extend Quinyon Mitchell. They can extend Cooper DeJean after the season. They're going to have to pay Jalen Carter, who's probably going to be the highest paid defensive tackle in football. They're going to have to – I know they paid Zach Bond. They're going to have to pay either one of Jordan Davis or one of Nolan Smith. Like, their whole defense could look a lot different next year. I do think they're extending Quinyon. I think they're extending DeJean. But, like, their D-line may be worse next year. So I don't know exactly how that's going to work, but I definitely can see them falling off. But, like – when you got Howie up front, the front office, it's hard to ever say they're going to be bad.
Yeah, the Eagles are going to have a stable front office. The thing is, they'll always find a way to be relevant, and they do have a really good personnel as far as offense and defense. Like, they're still going to be a good team. I think the offensive coordinator, they change every year, and they really got to stop doing that because it's just going to confuse everything. But I do agree with
what is he supposed to do? What is he supposed to do if Kellen Moore leaves or Shane Steichen? Like, that's not his problem. Every
True.
good one he hires leaves, and then he hires a bad one after. That's on him.
That's a
Yeah.
fair point.
Yeah. There's no stability in that front.
No stability at all. No stability at all.
That's what success causes, though.
No
My
stability at all.
favorite part about the whole thing was that 12-year-old kid outside the stadium saying, AJ,
Yeah.
pack your bags.
Yeah.
Favorite thing.
No, I know. Yeah, he's an interesting kid. Like, I really think AJ Brown's the modern day like Antonio Brown. Like it's just
Oh, yeah.
like
Same last
he's
name.
so,
It fits.
he's so
Yeah.
good, but it's like he's just so like it's like dude, it's like
Too
just
much drama.
shut up.
Not level.
That's why McDaniels makes sense there. It's another Bama quarterback for him to work with, and he's got a crazy wide receiver.
Yep.
Fits McDaniels perfectly.
I think AJ Brown is gone. I think he is gone. As much as like they're sad, he's gone.
Honestly, it's like
did you guys see
Terrell
the-
2.0 over there.
Well, did you see the reports that he requested a trade as early as week 3? He played 3 games after winning the Super Bowl. He goes, "Nope, I'm done."
Oh God.
3 games? Like, oh my God.
Oh,
Terrible.
I don't know.
He must hate
Yeah.
Sirianni.
I mean,
Hey,
Well,
that's
there's
my last
apparently there's a report that says like there's like speculation that him and Hurts can't work together anymore.
Oh boy.
That like apparently like AJ Brown has lost trust in Jalen.
Oh, my
I had
God.
no idea.
Terrible.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I love it because I mean, obviously, those dirt bags in that city. But whatever. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
oh,
Those
darn.
arrogant fans that think they know about sports but know
Worst
nothing,
fans
but
in
whatever.
sports.
Whatever.
Only team I can see taking him is probably the Chiefs, and that's not if Tyreek Hill goes
I was
back.
thinking that.
Yeah.
I think AJ Brown's. I think he's going back with. I think he's going back with Vrabel. I really do. I think he's going with Vrabel. I think New England, especially with how far they are in the playoffs, I think they can afford to give up a first round pick. Like I
Yeah.
think they can look at Philly and say, "Hey, here's our one," because AJ Brown's already on his new deal, right? That he recently signed, right? So it's not like they have to sign and trade or trade and extend him. Like he's on his new deal. I think like Vrabel will just look at that, and also like there's no way they had Diggs next year. Like Diggs is gone, so they're going to need another number 1-2 next year, and I can see because Vrabel worked with them in Tennessee. I think Vrabel's like one of those coaches where like it's worked once, where it's like I think he's going to try it again.
Yeah.
Speaking of Vrabel,
Possible.
It makes
speaking
too
of
much
Vrabel and
sense.
his Patriots,
Sure.
speaking of Vrabel and his Patriots, they oh my goodness, there is demolishings, and then there is this. Well, up until a certain other game.
Yep. We're gonna get into it right now. Thank you for the transition. So the Patriots and Chargers, the Sunday Night Football game on NBC and
Gross.
Peacock. Terrible. Justin Herbert got sacked 6 times. No offense till late in the game. Justin Herbert got sacked 6 times. Got banged up. Had to come off the field at least a couple times when he was shaken up, and it did not look good. Patriots clinched their second win of the season against a team 500 or better.
Yay!
Yeah, as many wins with teams above 500 as the New York Giants. Congratulations, Patriots. You did
Let's see
something right.
how they do against their actual defensive line.
Yeah, but the Patriots defense was dominant. Christian Gonzalez did suffer a concussion setback, but he is going to play. Nico Collins will not. So that's a quick thing I wanted to get over. And then also, Alec, we're going to go over Texans Steelers really quickly. Quick thought.
All right, I don't want to base this off of a certain something because I know. Shout out to Urinating Tree, by the way. He covers the Steelers in a brutally honest way, and he continues with the Days of Our Steelers theme in that soap opera theme of Days of Our Lives. But let's get this out the way. The Texans beat us in our own game. Whatever we had at our disposal, they had twice the amount of talent, or even 3 times as much talent as we had. If we somehow pulled a rabbit out of a magic hat, which we would have been shocked if we did, we would not beat New England again. We beat them the first time around. We were not going to do it again. It was close. It was ugly. It was defensive minded, but check the difference in total yards. With how the Texans defense completely shut down offense, there was only so much our defense could do. 2 strip sacks, several miscommunications between CJ Stroud and Jake Andrews, his center. I mean, shout out to Jack Sawyer. He's the often forgot about 4th edge rusher on this team, and he got a strip sack on Stroud. Keanu Benton had a nice strip sack on Stroud as well. And Stroud didn't play a particularly clean game, and it looked like Houston was going to win in spite of him. But Christian Kirk has stepped up in the absence of Nico Collins. He's going to be out this coming game with a concussion. But Kirk played his best game of the season and his best game in a while. 8 catches, 144 yards, and a touchdown on us. Woody Marks with the best game of his career. His first ever 100-yard rushing game of 112 yards, 1 touchdown on this seesaw of a run defense. Our run defense was dominant in the weeks before this game, and then this game happened. We can only do so much when this roster, as it's constructed, is middle of the pack. That falls on coaching, execution, and roster construction. But it's mostly the roster construction. Joey Porter Jr. had a nice season, but sadly, everyone else around him is, oh man. Jalen Ramsey, nice season by standards, but even he was ailing. And the safety position has not been the same ever since we traded away Minkah Fitzpatrick. That could arguably be a position of need heading into the draft. Wide receiver is an obvious need. We need someone next to DK Metcalf because Calvin Austin's a slot man. Jalen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell, thank you so much for the work that we put up, but we can't keep exhausting you like this. And Aaron Rodgers, I think we just saw his last game in the NFL level. Whether or not he comes back, if he does come back next year, it's going to be a sad song for anyone expecting a repeat of this year to happen. He can still do some things, but he's lost his mobility, and it's clear. He's not the great quarterback that the Packers have known throughout the years. TJ's press conference was very short and dismal. Sitting up here again, same story. You should know the vibes. If Mike Tomlin gone, probably this team is not going to be a place of interest for any incoming free agents. Who knows? But honestly, next year, I can take a losing season. If we suck next year, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Tries to higher draft value and the not losing streak on your own terms. Make it close games, but know that a bigger goal. Draft positioning.
Yeah. That's a fair point. I think things are probably going to turn for the Pittsburgh Steelers next year in a bad way. Listen, sometimes you have to have a bad year. I mean, especially after 22 amazing years of having a winning record. But, I think the stars are aligning for the Steelers where it's okay, I think we're probably going to have a losing season. But I think it'll all be in good interest. I think they need to draft a rookie quarterback. If not, they have to rely on Will Howard, see how he is. And the new head coach has a lot of responsibility on his hand and a big roster to look at and try to pick apart. And I don't know how that's going to be, but it's going to be a big, interesting offseason for Pittsburgh, that's for sure. Okay, now we're going to go over our bracket challenge standings as of now. John got 4 out of 6 right in the wild card round. He got the Bears right, he got the Rams right, he got the Patriots right, and he got the Texans right. He missed on Jacksonville, and he missed out on Philadelphia. We're going to go to Alec, who got 3 right out of 6. He got the first. He got the Jaguars, Eagles, and Chargers wrong. He got the Texans, Bears, and Rams right. Kevin in first place because he got the Bears and the Bills and the margin right. He missed out on Pittsburgh and he missed out on the Chargers, but he did get the Rams, Bears, and Niners right as well. And then there's me. I'm in second place. Rams, Bears, Bills, Patriots, and Texans right. I only missed out on Philadelphia, but I don't care. So, to know our predictions, here's how this is going to go. Our divisional predictions also with margin. Listen to this. So, I have the Seahawks winning by 10. I have the Broncos winning by 10. I have the Texans winning by 4. And I have the Eagles initially winning and going to the NFC Championship game. But that's a wash because the Eagles are eliminated. John has the Bears winning by 7. The Seahawks winning by 7. The Patriots winning by 7. And the Broncos winning by 7. Although he doesn't. Seattle winning by 3. Sorry about that. We're just so close to the 2-hour mark. Kevin has the Seahawks by 13. He has the Rams by 3. He has the Broncos by 14. And then he has the Bills by 10. Although the problem with that is Kevin will only get 1 right because the Broncos and Bills are facing each other. And I would think Kevin will want the Bills to win because he has the Bills going farther than Denver.
And the better margin, I guess.
And the better margin. Yeah, exactly. And then Alec has the Broncos winning by 6, The Rams winning by 3, the Bears winning by 4, and the Jaguars, who are eliminated, winning by 3. Again, same as Kevin, can only have one team win because the Bears and Rams are playing each other. And I think you'd probably want to be the Rams because that's your Super Bowl pick, correct, Alec?
Yeah.
Mine
Okay.
too.
All right. We're going to quickly get to Fresh Found or Fried because we have less than 5 minutes to go. We're going to try and get through this as fast as possible. So Fresh Found or Fried, my favorite segment on the show. This is where one of us goes into a take. And at the end of your take, the rest of us panelists will give you will rate you on a scale of fresh, fine, or fried. Fresh meaning good, fine meaning okay, and fried meaning, oh, brother, this guy stinks. Alex is on the hot seat. We have 3 SpongeBob references today. Alex is on the hot seat. I will give you 3 minutes. Sound okay?
Yeah.
All right, go.
All right. This take refers to an earlier Fresh Fine or Fried when I talked about the championship format of NASCAR. Yes, I am a NASCAR fan, but Priest said the only way I accept the now previous playoff format is if the top 16 in points get in, and there's no when you're in. I'll have to say, that's fried now. Get out of here with that. Get out of here. Looking for the 12 years of this format, I don't think there's a way you could justify that playoff format. Kevin Harvick, 9 wins in 2020, no championship. Xfinity Series, Connor Zilic, 11 wins this past season, no championship. Matt Crafton in 2019 in trucks, no wins, championship. Ryan Newman, 2014 Cup, no wins, runner-up. Kyle Busch, 2015, will miss the first 11 weeks, championship. And that was because he broke a leg and a foot that year. NASCAR decided to switch back to a modified version of the chase format that took place from 2004 to 2013. And essentially, it's a sign of going back to how things were. It's a step in the right direction, and I don't think it's a solution because the solution is full season points, like what Formula One and other motorsport or leagues are doing it. NASCAR was obsessed with the idea of being the NBA and NHL, and it backfired horrifically. So where does this leave us with the chase? Same number of cars that made the playoffs will enter the chase. 16 cars, all on points, by the way. And I've been advocating to get rid of winning you're in for the previous Fresh Fine or Fried, and thank goodness that they did. Race winners now collect 55 points, 15-point increase over the previous point system. Points awards for other positions and save results are the same, but bankable playoff points are no longer part of the format. Points reset for each series chase field for the regular season champion. Regular season champion starts with 2,100 to start the chase. Second seed, 2,075. Third seed, 2,065. Each subsequent seed, 5-point drop off all the way to 2,000 for the 16th and final seed. But thank goodness that we finally made to switch back to the original chase. It's a step in the right direction, and it can benefit drivers like Christopher Bell and Chase Elliott a lot, who were screwed over by this playoff format. This format is perfect for the both of them. You can say Chase Briscoe as well, who would be the runner-up in a full season points format last year. Now, there will be a lot of intrigue around it because of the memories of the previous iteration of when we saw the chase. Kurt Busch in 04, the photo finish in 05, Tony Stewart in the tiebreaker in 11. Oh, yeah. Bring it on, baby. Bring it on.
That's it?
Yeah.
Wow. That's efficient. All right, we're going to go through our thoughts real quick. All right, Kevin, Fresh Fire and Fried, really quick.
Fresh. I trust Alec with NASCAR stuff.
All right, John, Fresh Fire and Fried, really quick.
I think it's fresh. Definitely fresh. I think the NASCAR has been losing viewership, and I think the playoff is part of it.
Okay. Ryan, really quick, Fresh Fire and Fried.
I'll say fresh. I'm starting to get into NASCAR now. Like it sold me.
Oh, wow. I didn't know if Ryan actually watched NASCAR. I'm going to say fresh as well because I trust Alec with everything NASCAR related. Okay. So, this show is also partnered with My Camp Solutions and Octagon Payments, a boxing company located in Arizona. Ryan, who also is known on Instagram as Guacamole is Delicious, awesome dude. Got to meet him. And, they give you great long-term contract and awesome company. So, with that being said, I can't believe we're actually going to do this and have a shot going in 2 hours. This is crazy. Thank you to Ryan Barrett Jr. for sticking around for hour number 2. When you first came on, I think the guys were really surprised. And also the first time you met John Mulch, because last time Ryan was here, John was not around. But
that's right, yeah.
You got the full crew. And, this show is awesome. Again, congrats to John for winning the Foursquare Fantasy Championship at Sammy's expense. And also congratulations to all the people who won fantasy championships this year. I wish I won a fantasy championship. I won 3 years ago.
Actually, Bijan bombed. Ridiculous. Here
I
it goes.
traded them in one of my leagues for no reason.
At least I will forever have this trophy at my disposal.
I got Bijan bombed. I'm pissed.
Oh my god. Anyway, from Kevin Zell's
Ridiculous.
shoulders, out now, Ryan Barron Jr., John Walsh, I'm Matt Sirianni. God bless you all. Have a great night. Thank you for watching Four Square Sports, which is sports at score. Take care, everybody. Have a good night. We'll see you soon.
Hi, everybody. Christopher Mad Dog Russo here. And you know what I do? Four Square Sports on Sunday nights, 6 to 8, with all those parts of the country taken care of. Listen all the time. You got it. Mad Dog on Mad Dog Unleashed. Listen to my guys. Listen to my guys.